Hey everybody, welcome to Average Guy Opinions. I'm your average guy, Don Corelli. I am back from Estes Park, where I hung out with my friend Troy. This is part two of that little tale. There's not really too much to tell, to be honest. I told you guys all about day one, which is a day of way too much alcohol, especially for somebody my age. And we did have a lot of fun there. I got to see some. I don't know if I mentioned this in the first part. We did see a musician, a couple of musicians. They were probably in their 60s and they were really good. They did cover a lot of 80s cover band stuff, so it was kind of fun. That was the place we drank our last our last beer. I think maybe we had another a seltzer at the end of the night when we got back to the condo. But so that was kind of the end of day one. I told you guys saw the deer because I reviewed the video, so I'm glad you guys got to see the deer that ran by. We ran into a lot of deer up there. We ran into a lot of elk. This morning, after having some Starbucks breakfast and cleaning up and leaving the condo, we almost ran into a real deer because Troy was kind of talking. He was looking to the right while he was talking to me. I go, deer, and this young deer was starting to come towards us. He's like, oh shit. And so we had to avoid a deer in the road because that's really commonplace up in Estes Park. A lot of deer, a lot of elk. And they're just part of part of the population up there. We cleaned up and we started heading home. And forgot to tell you about Monday though. Sunday after that day of drinking and Scrabble. Yesterday, Monday, we climbed a peak. Not a big peak and not frankly an impressive hike at all, but we did all right. It was like a 4 mile hike total, 2 miles up, 2 miles back, and about an elevation of 1,000 feet. We started around 9,000, and this peak's nearly 10,000 feet high. It's called Lily Peak in Estes Park. It wasn't a very far drive. We got started a little late, and because I didn't sleep well up there, neither of the two nights. The first night I didn't sleep well because I drank too much, and the second night's just the bed, and I had a lot of anxieties last night. But yeah, so but we're still young enough that we can handle such things. It was a good hike. Um, we completed it in about 3 hours, which was like the average, according to the websites we read. And I felt pretty good. We didn't get passed by anybody, even though we were probably the oldest guys we saw up there. And we passed a few younger people, so that felt pretty good. Made us feel like we were in shape. At the top, we hung out with a couple of couples in their 20s and their dogs. There's a hummingbird up there and a beautiful view, which I will put in the thumbnail of this video. Or which will be the thumbnail of this video. I don't even know. But that was good. So we did a good hike. We came back got down to Estes Park, and got off the beaten path a little bit. There's a Mexican place pretty close to the condo, which is not downtown, so that's kind of nice. Don't have to deal with too many tourists. And we had some enchiladas, and I had a pina colada, which is amazing. And that was the only drink I had all day. After the way we drank on Sunday, one pina colada was plenty on Monday. So we did that, and that's to make you happy, Mom, and that is the truth. So yeah, I mentioned how I was kicking Troy's ass in Scrabble yesterday, or 2 days ago. I ended up winning 5 out of 7 games, and it's kind of funny because last year he won 5 out of 7 games. So I can say we are equal in the world of Scrabble. So we'll see how we do next year and who's the better Scrabble player. Very exciting stuff. Um, I don't know if I can fill 10 minutes because honestly, the hike and the food, and then just coming home and playing Scrabble, coming to the condo and playing Scrabble was pretty much it. Although last night I did not sleep well at all. So now this is one of the things that keeps me up at night. We were up there and it was pretty hot for Estes Park. It was like 80 degrees most of the time. 80 to 82 degrees was the high, and you could just feel it pounding on you as you hiked the mountain. Even though there were a lot of pine trees, it was still really hot for a hike up at a 9 to 10,000 foot altitude. Yeah, so and that was okay, but those are the kinds of things that keep me up at night, apparently. That's the big one. I really am worried about climate change, global warming, and the future of not just me, but the people I love, and especially my children and other children. They deserve to have a nice long life if we can get our act together as a human race and solve this problem. Because I think it's the biggest one that faces us, to be honest. It's just polluting our our planet and overheating ourselves out of existence. It's frightening for me. So that kept me up a little. Not so great of a bed kept me up. And also, it's kind of funny. the way it's been decorated, Troy's stepmother is in charge of the decorating. It's very southwestern, and a lot of Native American imagery, all kinds of. She really went over the top with the Native American stuff. And there's like these three Native American dolls, and their faces are really intense, and one of them just is so realistic looking, and it freaks me out. And it's staring at me right in my bed, and I couldn't get it out of my head. I was like a 13-year-old. I was freaked out by this little doll. So that kept me up. The bed kept me up. Thoughts of global warming and other things kept me up. And then I just decided, well, I'm not falling asleep, so I might as well read. I'm reading a book that I mentioned maybe a month or two ago when I was trying to get into reading again. And reading that I think is very important as I age, because I am worried I forget more stuff than I ever have before, and I'm only 50, going to be 54 in a couple months, so I really shouldn't be as forgetful as I am. So I need to do more brain exercise, and the brain exercise I have chosen is an old college book of mine, which none of you will want to read. I can't imagine there's any of you political science, history type people out there that give a shit. I don't blame you. It's not very exciting, but it's 20th century presidents and their interactions with the Arab-Israeli world, and policies they made and decisions they made ever since Israel has been a state. So from 1948 to 88, the book was written in 89 or 90, right as Reagan was ending his second term. So it covers everyone from Truman to Reagan, and I've gotten through Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, and now Johnson, and it was very interesting, actually. I mean, the year I was born, 1967, was the so-called Six-Day War, and it's very interesting stuff. So I'm kind of offshooting, not so much about Estes Park anymore, but what I needed to try to fall asleep last night was to read about this, and there are a lot of people. I mean, I'm trying that aren't very even-handed when it comes to that part of the world. A lot of people are pro-Israeli. A lot of people are super pro-Palestinian, and or pro-Arab, as you may call yourself. And I really am kind of on the Arab side in this, because in 1967 there was a big diametrical change in policy by Johnson, and that was I thought about it was kind of cool. This is in June, so I was literally in my mother's belly waiting to be born a few months later, and that was the Six-Day War, where Israel actually invented the preemptive strike, and Egypt had massed some soldiers and battlements on the Sinai Peninsula, and they threatened to shut down the Strait of Tehran, not to be confused with Tehran, the capital of Iran, or Iran, as most people probably call it. But the Strait of Tehran is like the Suez Canal. I believe it's part of the Suez Canal, but it's a very important strait for commerce and ships to go through and support the respective economies of the countries around that in the Middle East. And Nasser, who was a very pro-Arab, very pro-nationalistic leader of Egypt, and frankly a thorn in the side of many people, not only in Europe and the United States, but obviously in Israel, said, "I'm going to we're going to make that not accessible to the Israelis." And the Israelis, despite a lot of other countries saying, "Hey, hold on, this is not cause for war yet. Take it easy." And the Israelis are not. They're a very militaristic society. I mean, you got to do conscription when you're 19, I think, or 18. You have to do at least a year in their armed forces, I believe. And so it's a very militaristic society. And this was something I had maybe heard about and forgot, or maybe I never knew about it. But it was very interesting. It's the tale of the USS Liberty, and wow. And so when people say, and this is when Johnson kind of blew off Israel just doing whatever they want, and instead of having an even-handed approach like the three previous presidents before him, just basically made the decision that we are pro-Israel. The year I was born, and a few hours actually before the war actually started, there was a well-marked U.S. ship called the USS Liberty. It was doing reconnaissance and trying to figure out if Israel was going to attack, and Israel attacked that ship. and they killed 34 men and injured 171. And the United States just kind of blew it off. They actually killed American soldiers who were not attacking, who were only doing reconnaissance to try to thwart this war. And so when you look at Israel and think that they're all good guys and think that, hand in hand with the United States, maybe think again. If you're really a patriot and care about the lives of the men in this country, check out go to Wikipedia and check out the USS Liberty. It's an interesting story, kind of horrific when you think about it. Just to finish up on that, the Israelis, after they started sinking the boat or nearly sank the boat, were actually shooting at life rafts with American soldiers in them, and that is completely against the Geneva Convention and pretty horrific morally, if not only morally and ethically, but also legally. It's against the Geneva Convention. So I went a little long, got into that USS Liberty stuff. Read into it, guys. Find out some stuff about the world you live in. And thanks for listening to my Estes Park stories. Talk to you soon. Bye.